From A-Side Studios, here in the heart of SUNY Purchase College, this is What the Fuck Are You Listening To? With your host, Paul Hoti.
Welcome back. Hi. This is episode number 2, if I'm correct, which I know I am. It's Paul. I'm back, and Redmond's behind me. I want you to know, if for any listener of this show out there, Redmond is always behind me while recording this. It's pretty funny. So I'm back. Last time was the inaugural. This is the episode number 2, and it's about any show. Hopefully it gets better. I don't know if it'll be the case for this one, but I certainly hope so. I guess we'll just go into really what the fuck am I listening to currently. And I don't know if you know this. I really doubt you do, or if it's really relevant to your life. But I just got back to college a week ago, and so I'll probably just talk about what I've been listening to the week I got back and the week before, which is I don't know if you'd be familiar with this genre, listener, but there's this genre of music called post-punk, and the bands in that genre include Joy Division, which is probably the most famous one, and Joy Division, The Clash was a big one. There's a few others. It's literally just off the top of my head. I'm trying not to look at my phone while I'm doing this, though I admittedly have my phone right next to me, so I don't fuck up any record names. But it's that, and you just heard my phone just like that. Probably picked it up, the microphone. So yeah, we got. I'm basically going to talk about 3 quote-unquote post-punk records. And I got into it because I know you don't know this, but I'm a big fan of the gentleman Henry Rollins. And he has his own radio show that he does on Sunday nights. And I usually tune in every once in a while, like, to the archives. And he has a very wildly different taste in music than I do. But he's a big fan of these... a lot of punk music, and a lot of these punk, as it's called on Wikipedia, which is my favorite source of all things music, weirdly enough, is he's a big fan of that. So I was in the last week of school. I was like, you know what? Let me just check out some of these records. And number 1 and 2 is, I guess, Henry Rollins' favorite band called The Fall, which is that's just a cool fucking name. And I listened to 2 of these, the albums. One's called The Wonderful and Frightening World of The Fall. It's the Wonderful and Frightening World of ... and the band name completes it. And it's really, it's based, what's cool about post-punk is that it's very much the roots of what would become alternative rock in the 90s. So again, Nirvana, Radiohead, as I mentioned in the previous episode, and also shit like Oasis and The Verve, I guess, all those alt rock bands in the 90s. They would sound totally different without these bands, these formative bands, in the early 80s and late 70s. So, and this Fall record, and there's another one I listened to called what's it called? Let's see, got my phone out right now. This Nation's Saving Grace. And these records sound kind of weird. I prefer the other 2, I guess, bands I checked out. But it's still cool. It's kind of, I don't want to say wacky, but it sounds a little wacky. It doesn't sound like it takes itself totally seriously, which I'm actually not that much of a fan of. I kind of like music that sounds super serious and super, heavy and, dark, or just, it takes itself seriously. And, but no, it's a lot of interesting sounds and sonic atmospheres and whatnot, which I can appreciate. And it's also, I'm a big fan of music history and just how things evolve. Like how you go from shit like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin to, again, fucking Oasis, or, again, Radiohead, all those bands that, if you compare it to what's the 90s and the 70s, it's like, where's this all coming from? And my hypothesis is that it all comes from this, I guess, these kind of bands, like The Fall. And another one I checked out is a band I was a little more familiar with called Killing Joke. and they have this awesome song called "The Wait" off of their first album, "The Killing Joke," which I think was somewhere in like the late 70s. I don't have it. 1980, so right there. And it's a lot more serious than the Fall album was. The record I checked out specifically was called "What's This For?" ... and then what's the word? Exclamation point. And it's again a lot darker, a lot more serious, but it's also kind of catchy. If you like Nine Inch Nails, I think, or like Tool or something like that, which is again a band I was obsessed with in high school, like freshman and sophomore year to be specific. It's that kind of sound. It's very driving, very like it's almost industrial, very gritty, but it's also very clean sounding, and it's fucking cool. And the third band, which actually was my favorite that I checked out, was this band called Wire. Like, not The Wire as in the show, Wire. And these guys, like, it sounds serious, but not too serious, and the sonics are just it's fucking cool. You could really tell, like, oh, this is, again, where bands like Radiohead and, I guess, like, the late 80s alternative scene, like My Bloody Valentine, that's just, like, the shoegaze scene, and maybe like stuff like The Cure or whatever, like those kind of bands, they got their sound from this band The Wire. So, and again, if you like radio, if you like those kind of bands, you owe it to yourself to check out this kind of shit, because it's like the roots. And I think it's not mandatory listening to sound like a dick, but it's pretty essential listening if you like that kind of sound, as I do. And it's 7:10. Well, 7 minutes. I'm done here. Redman has, yeah. Tune in next week or whatever. Bye.